Hey guys, Trevor Hold here. Welcome to another Who Are We episode of the podcast. Today I have a special guest with me, Stephanie Hall. How are you going, Steph?
Hey, how you doing, Trevor? Nice to meet you. It's an
No,
honor to be here.
thanks for joining us today. Just before we get started, just have a bit of disclaimer. We're just going to we're recording this session. We're just going to post it onto YouTube and put some links on LinkedIn or whatever, just to do some promotional work. The idea being, if we can just talk about who we are and what we stand for, then it may help other people reflect on who they are and who they want to be and create positive outcomes in society as a whole. So that's basically what we're here for. So we might get straight into it. Who is Stephanie Hall and what does she stand for?
Stephanie is Miss I Shine, period. Stephanie is a curse breaker. Stephanie is the earth shaker. Stephanie is a tatted prophet. Stephanie is the mental health slayer. Stephanie is hell's worst nightmare. And let me tell you, what I stand for is the love, empowerment, and healing of others and making a change in this world.
So it sounds like you stand for a lot. Love, empowerment, and healing. They're three powerful words, and making
Yes,
a difference for other people.
yes, yes, definitely. It's everything that I stand for, everything I've done in my life, how I've transformed my life, and it's my gift to provide that healing, love, and empowerment to others.
Yeah. And you mentioned mental health slayer. Is that something that you do as part of your everyday life? You want to explore on that a bit?
Yes, so it's one of my new how should I say this? I have different names or personalities, maybe if you want to call it, right? And so one of them is the mental health slayer, and that's a title that God gave me actually because through my healing journey, God healed me through from mental illness. And with everything, how we did it was God provided me with spiritual and holistic approaches to healing, right? And so, being that I have this power that God gave me, I use the same spiritual and holistic methods to heal others and give them the blueprint that God gave me to heal their mental health. And because I kill them, I get rid of them, I said I am the mental health slayer. So, yes.
And you mentioned before hell's worst nightmare. Is that through your spiritual connection and helping others find the spiritual path?
Yes. So what I mean by that is I have a very deep thinking about how this world is set up and structured, right? And according to spirituality, we are taught that heaven and hell exist outside of this plane, right? That they exist outside of this dimension or whatnot, right? But what I've come to realize is that heaven and hell exist within this dimension. It does exist within this world because it's a mindset, right? It is a place where we can exist mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, right? And so the reason why I said that is because someone told me this and it gave me so much empowerment. They said, you are the woman that dug yourself out the pit, and you're now that same woman that will go into that same pit and pull others out of it, right? And so, like I said, that was hell to me. Everything that I've been through in life, it felt like I was in complete hell, but I brought myself out of it and I found my heaven here on earth, right?
Yep.
And so that's why, I say that. And like I said, I just have a very deep, spiritual thinking about that.
Yeah, and it takes a fair bit to admit you had or even discuss your own personal mental health challenges. You seem to be very open about it. Do you think that's important in helping others? Is that understanding that you've been down that path as well?
In order to help others, they require your transparency. They require your vulnerability. You cannot connect with your audience or your target audience in that way, right? And so one thing that I've been saying all year is that a part of my mission. All I want to do is get my message out. But in order for people to resonate with me, I have to go back in those deep, dark places and spaces and talk about it, right? Because they will be like, yeah, I've been there too. Yeah, I'm there right now. Okay, Stephanie, you did it. How can you get me out of it? Right. And so really that's all it is. Some people like to think of maybe being bragging or boasting or anything. And I definitely don't give that perception off because my healing was not easy at all. But by me being more transparent and open and telling you exactly what happened, that allows me to reach you in that way where I can provide you the solution, right? So yes, it's very important.
And yeah, so the two things you mentioned, transparency and vulnerability. And it's quite interesting that you mentioned that because, like, I've done a fair few of these podcasts now and talking to different people. And some people actually rate vulnerability as a superpower, as something that can be utilized to create better outcomes for people. Is that how you see it as well?
It's exactly how I see it. For example, people think that surrendering is a weakness. Actually, surrendering is the greatest thing that you can ever do in this life. People think, especially in society, that crying is a weakness, right? That's something that a lot of our men have been plagued with for generations, right? And I wrote a blog one time where I was telling exactly to the men, it's okay to cry. When you cry and you release that pain, there's a strength that comes after that, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with transparency. And I dislike sometimes that people look at transparency as a weakness when a lot of people don't understand. Me being transparent with you, it took a lot for me to be able to do this for you, right? It took a lot for me to overcome and things I had to do to get here to be able to tell you my story without breaking down and crying, right? Without me showing that or saying that it's still something that plagues me with. Now it's a story that empowers me, right? And now I can use that story to empower you, but I had to do that through transparency. So these things that we have been told in society, we have to shift those stigmas, right? We have to shift those mindsets and say, hey, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be transparent. That's how you're going to get where you need to go and reach your people because you're being authentic. And that's your superpower.
Yeah, yeah. And you talk about a spiritual holistic approach. So you mentioned, I think you mentioned mental health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health.
Yeah.
Trying to work on all them elements of life is something that you're doing. Is it how you see it?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It's what I did. And that was a part of my healing journey. It was also a part of my spiritual journey. I went through several spiritual awakenings throughout my healing process. And like how I explained it to people, my belief in God never changed. My stand on Jesus and the power of the blood of Jesus in the Bible, none of that has changed. The only thing that has changed is the fact that I don't believe in the system of religion, right? And there's a total difference. But the moment I broke out of that system of religion is when God broke me free spiritually, right? And it made me to understand that all these things that society has been telling us, like we were just talking about, is wrong or is weak, actually was the exact opposite. So why am I giving power to someone here that's saying you may not get better? You're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life. You're going to deal with this issue, be plagued with this pain for the rest of your life, when my creator tells me otherwise and showed me how to do it through holistic methods, right? Through vitamins, herbs, supplements, all of the natural elements that God has here on this earth, right? We're supposed to use these things to heal. And when you heal, my blueprint is when you tackle the spirituality, you come into your identity, right? Then you focus on your physical health. And in order to heal the mental, you got to heal your gut, right?
Yeah.
It's a theory called the mind gut connection. You
Yeah.
heal your physical, then you go and tackle that past emotional pain and trauma. You go snatch up that inner child of yours that has a whole attitude and say, hey, I need you to get your act together. I need you to do this. I need you to do right. You heal that, right? And then by the time you get to the mental part, you're going to realize, hey, I actually don't have that much to deal with. I was never really crazy in the first place.
Yeah, and it's interesting because messages, even spoken slightly different, are very similar
Right.
in the fact I'm hearing that you're saying big belief of what you eat, your diet,
Mm-hmm.
and your
Right.
physical ability to exercise or however it
Yes.
is. So your physical well-being is linked to
Right.
your mental well-being. So if you're working on your diet and eating well, and you're working on your fitness, then suddenly you
Yes.
haven't got so many problems to deal with in your head. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm saying. And of
yeah,
course, we're told otherwise, right?
yeah,
We're told that I was told for years I'm crazy by everything and everybody.
yeah,
I've been blessed to have a few doctors that actually really believed me and
yeah,
understood what I was dealing with and treated me appropriately. But I always knew that there was ultimate healing. I
yeah,
always knew that there was ultimate love, joy, peace, and happiness. Because I was like, what in the world? Why are we dealing with all this crap on this earth, right? And it wasn't until I started my healing journey and I realized a lot of that stuff is false. And
yeah,
I'm a huge advocate for you do what you got to do until you can get to where I am, right? Because I had to do it. I was on medication for a long time until I realized I didn't need it. You do what you got to do until you get there. Just know that healing is possible, but you have to take the spiritual and holistic approach to do it.
yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm hearing the timing's got to be right, and that's another common
Yes,
theme throughout it. Like you can't until you're ready to accept change or accept
yes.
different approaches, then you're not going to get there. It sounds similar to what you're saying there.
That's exactly it. You have to, your first thing, and I wrote this in my book, you have to have that shift in mindset first. You have to say, I want the healing. I want the change. I want to do this because God's not going to force it down your throat, and neither am I, right? You
Yeah,
got to want it, and you got to want it bad. I told someone the other day, I literally touched the hem of Jesus' garment in meditation because that's how bad I wanted it. I wanted that healing. And if you want it, you can get it. But you, like you said, you got to have that shift in mindset first.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. So I've been reading a fair bit of your work over the last few days since we met
Okay.
on LinkedIn. A
Okay.
lot of what you do, and because I know at the start when you said who is Stephanie, there was so much there, and it's hard for
Yeah.
me to tackle all of them. But
Right.
a big part of that was supporting your fellow sisters and women in general. Seems to be a big passion of yours, is it?
The biggest thing that I advocate for, and yes, I know I'm a lot. I come with a lot. I was created that way, right? But the biggest thing that I advocate for is the survival of others. Everything that I do just comes up under that, right?
Yeah,
And so, because I had unaliving situations, I had three of them within a 6 year time frame. I know what it's like to get to the lowest of low. I almost lost my life three times.
yeah,
But the only reason why I got that low is because the only thing I didn't have was purpose and identity.
yeah,
That's all I didn't have. But once Stephanie got that identity and purpose,
yeah,
things switched just like that. And it was like I've been taking off ever since, and that was 3 years ago. So
yeah.
a lot of our mental illness stems from us being in low vibrational spaces when we're actually called to do and be so much more and greater, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Her purpose is one of the things that helped save you. Sounds meaning.
It it was the main thing that saved me.
Yeah,
Knowing who I am. When I grew up, I knew everything about my father's side of the family for the most part, but I didn't know much about my mother's side of the family, and I really didn't come into knowing until 2 years ago. And I'm 39, and I just started meeting my mama's family, right? But all your life, we like to attach our identity to our families, our ancestry, our lineage, right? But that's a part of it, but that's not all of it. They can explain, your ancestry and lineage can explain a lot about what you're called to do, but it won't tell you exactly your mission and purpose in life, right? And so for me, I had to tackle that from a spiritual approach. Everybody has different ways that they do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. You do it the way that you do it. So I did it the way that I did it. And when I did it, it's like it solved all my problems. And I call myself, I am the solution. That's what I say too. I am the solution, because when my identity or purpose was revealed to me, I realized I was created to be a solution to a big problem in this world. And it's a big problem.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna allow anyone to suffer in silence anymore. If I have anything to do with it, I'm not gonna allow anyone to slip between my fingers and be struggling to lose their life, because I know what it's like to be there, and I know what it's like to suffer and struggle alone. I will be there for you. I can be there for you, even if I just talk to you and give you encouraging words, because I want to see you live. I want to see you survive. I want to see you fulfill that mission and purpose that you have in your life, because even maybe something you're called to do is something that can help me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and that's an amazing insight, and purpose obviously has a lot of meaning for everyone. And
Yeah.
interesting hearing you say that you're 39 now, and 2 or 3 years ago it took you to find your identity or your purpose. You probably after 35 years of life before you started to explore identity, and I feel
Yes.
that's why talking about this now is going to help other people. And thank you for being vulnerable and transparent in your journey, because I feel that by you sharing your story, it may help others try to look at their identity much sooner. It might save so much trauma and heartache and pain over the years.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
one other thing I picked up on is with your spiritual journey for you, do,
Mhm.
do you find that because of your spiritual plans required you to be the best you could be? Is that something that gave you inspiration to help build on them holistic approaches with all them facets of your life? Is part of that responsibility to God to be the best you can be, do you think? Or
So I will say it like this, and I actually was telling someone this yesterday. The reason why I eat the way that I do is because I have to, in order to operate in my purpose, right? In order to fulfill my identity. And so I went completely vegan. Um, I have a very boring diet. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I intake no processed sugar. I intake no form of salt. If it's anything processed, I don't eat it. I don't drink it. I actually also found out that I feel like I'm allergic to everything on this planet. So my holistic nutritionist that I met 2 years ago, I had an environmental allergy test done, and she showed me something called a FODMAP, and that correlates with your environmental allergies and tell you what foods that you actually can't eat. So
yeah,
that was an eye opener too, right? I actually found out that Stephanie can't eat gluten. Stephanie can't, and that's a good thing now, right? Because
yeah,
I actually had something called SIBO, which stands for small intestinal bowel obstruction.
yeah,
So it got to a point when even when I ate, no food was processing and moving through my small intestine, and no oxygen was going through there either. And so I'm gonna be honest with you. Had I not chose to heal at the time that I did, I don't even know if I would have made it here today. You know. And so that being that holistic not only removes the high blood pressure that I had, I no longer deal with high cholesterol. I'm no longer pre-diabetic. And even when they diagnosed me with that, I think that was the main thing I said that turned it around for me. I said, I refuse to become a full-blown diabetic because it runs in the family, right? I wanted to be there to be alive to, be with my kids, because that also developed small fiber neuropathy, which added on to the fibromyalgia I already had and the osteoarthritis and bursitis that I had. That's a lot by itself, right? But that wasn't all. And so I am so boring in life. I exercise, I walk every day, I drink hell of water. You will barely catch me drinking the soda. I'm really at the point where meat is completely out of my diet. I may slip up every now and then, but it's not like an everyday thing, right? And now it's at the point where I actually intermittent fast every day. It's just a discipline. So when you get to this point, depending on what you're called to do in life, I have to keep this up, not just for the purpose, but you know what? I feel so much better. And I look way better here at 39 than I did at 35. So why not, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's interesting that, like you had to go on a journey and discover these. Obviously, you had to go and seek someone who had expert advice to give you, or you had to go and find this information out. It just didn't come to you so you got to make the effort is what I'm getting at. And you've obviously made the effort, and you are looking fantastic.
Thank you.
And it's amazing. So, obviously, if people want to reach out to you, you're available on LinkedIn, and anyone can message you, and you're quite open to hear from people.
Yeah, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can also visit my website is www.ishineperiod.com. That's ISHINEPERIOD.com. All of my socials are on there. My phone number is on there, my business phone number, my email. I'm actually going to open up to doing mentoring soon and adding some mental health life coaching in there. So that's coming soon as well. So, but if you need to contact me, you want to stay up to date with some future appearances I have coming up and events, or you just want to stay in tune when services start, subscribe to the email list. That's on the website as well. And if you just need to talk, you're on one of my socials, send me a DM, send me an email. I need to give me a little bit to respond, but I will respond to you. This is what I'm called to do, and I make the time to separate to, help others. So yes.
Yeah, and thank you very much for being there for people and sharing your story and being vulnerable and transparent in your messaging. And hopefully people can see your authenticity in this podcast and reach out and hopefully develop some sort of relationship, because obviously relationships are very important and friendships and this and that. So and I'd like to thank you for your time and
thank you for having me. It was an honor. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Have a good one. Bye.